The Soviet Union, socialism's largest failure. Welcome back again to another episode of Spin Cycle America, where we talk about what is going on in the world around us. I'm your host, Todd. I do want to interject something here, real quick. I will be running a 4th of July special, of course, on the 4th of July this weekend. So don't miss it. You'll want to definitely listen to it. It's really kind of a cool special. All right, so let's get down to business though, and continue talking about what this week's special is on, and that's talking about socialism in America. So welcome back again, once again, to the series on socialism. We've looked at the definition of socialism. We looked at Venezuela's collapse and the economic calculation problem, as well as today we're going to talk on the biggest socialist experiment in history, the Soviet Union. So, for over 70 years, the USSR promised a workers' paradise. Outstanding. Instead, it delivered repression, famine, inefficiency, and eventually it collapsed. Boom, gone. This wasn't a small country, though. Okay, now you've all seen and heard of Russia, USSR. It's huge, it's giant, it's a big country. But it was a superpower as well. Yet socialism still failed in that country. Might does not always make it well in that country or in a country with socialism. It doesn't make you successful because when you're giving out free stuff, somebody has to pay for it. Okay, and that just doesn't work if you don't have the means to buy your goods, or if you don't have uh, if you don't have a free market. So, anyways, the Soviet Union, the USSR, was a socialist state that existed from 1922 to 1991. So it was governed by a single party communist system. It aimed at transition from centrally planned command economy into a stateless, classless communist society using Marxist Leninist ideology. So let's go ahead and talk about the promise and revolution of this country. So after 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution began. Lenin and then Stalin set out to build a socialism state. Ownership of factories, farms, and resources, central planning through a 5-year plan, no capitalist exploitation. Sounds good in theory, you would think, right? Hey, the government's going to own it all. It's going to take care of us. Hey, we don't have to do anything. We just have to show up, collect the goods, and the government's going to take care of us. New York's trying it. So the government controlled the means of production, factories, farms, and resources, eliminating private property and market competition. So when you eliminate private competition and market competition, you eliminate a way to set the prices. So if you don't have any competition, who's going to set your prices? Eventually, you're going to run out of goods and resources. So early on, the industrialized rapidly. Uh, industrialized rapidly. Propaganda showed strength, rockets, military power. I mean, it was huge. It was great. Everything was great. Olympic wins. Hey, man, we're that. We're it. Many in the West admired it. Hey, this is the way to go. We need to jump on board here. Um, but behind the facade was a different story. Something was happening over there. So social guarantees. Here's the regime heavily prioritized social and economic rights. This resulted in widespread throughout often or through though often heavily regimented across access to free public education, healthcare, and employment. Why not? Hey, it's free public education, free healthcare, employment. You're guaranteed all this stuff. It's there. They're guaranteeing all this stuff. So, but the brutal reality was this: collective visualization of agriculture under Stalin caused the Holodomor famine in Ukraine, millions of dead from starvation, while grain and was exported. So they're exporting all this grain out of the country, but yet their own countrymen, their own people are dying from starvation. How does that make sense? Chronic shortages were normal. Citizens waited in long lines for basic goods. Stores had empty shelves, while central planners misallocated resources, exactly as the calculation problems predicted. So this is going to be the same situation. They have 5 stores, grocery stores being created up there in New York. $70 million worth of 5 stores. One of them like $30 million. They're averaging about $30 million or so. At least the first one is. That's expensive stores. Who's going to stock them? Who's going to pay for all that food going into there? Yeah, they have resources to start them off, but who's going to keep them running? The Gulag system imprisoned millions of political or economic crimes. For political and economic crimes, dissent was crushed because the system required total control. So that means somebody's going to be totally controlling you. Whatever you do, whatever it's totally controlled of you. You don't have no say so in anything. If you work at one of those grocery stores, more power to you. Economically, the USSR was stagnant. By the 1980s, growth had slowed dramatically. Shortages of food, clothing, and technology were widespread throughout the entire country. Now, you've seen how big that country is. It's huge. It's huge. It stopped. People in Poland and other satellite states had similar experiences. No meat, no soap, constant scarcity. It was there. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. The system simply couldn't compete with the West's market driven economies. Market driven. You know what market driven is, right? That means free enterprise. We get to decide how much to charge things. We get to decide how much things are going to cost. We get to decide the market, not the government. If the government decides the market, then we lose. So here's some lessons and some warnings that we need to pay attention to. The Soviet Union proves that even with vast resources and strong central power, socialism fails for the same reason we've discussed in the past: missing price signals, destroyed incentives, and concentrated power leading to corruption and tyranny. People, we got to watch out for this because one half wants socialism. They want to regulate everything. Just because you have a certain amount of money, they want to take that away from you. If you had a certain amount of money, they want to give it to people who don't work. They want everybody to make the same amount of money. If $10 is what they want you to make, that's what they want everybody to make. If you're making $100, that's what they want everybody to make. You can't. It just won't work. You can see that happening in New York already. They're already trying to tax one particular class of people more than another class of people just because they make more money or they're a higher class in the sense of how much money they already have. I don't think that's fair. It's definitely not fair. They should be taxed according to their tax bracket, and that's a federal tax. State taxes should follow the same way. You should not pick out any particular person because of the race, color, creed, or because they just happen to make more money than another group of people does. That's just the same thing goes with reparations. That's bull. That's baloney. Today, when some politicians praise aspects of socialist systems or push for much larger government control, we should remember the human cost of the 20th century's largest socialist project. Freedom, property rights, and market product produce far better outcomes for ordinary people than central planning ever did. So let me say that again. Freedom, property rights, and markets produced far better outcomes for ordinary people than central planning ever did. Really? There's common sense for you. Let me decide how much money I want to make. Let me decide if I'm comfortable making this much money or if I'm comfortable making this much money. Let me talk to planners to see where I'm at. I don't need somebody to say, you know what, you're making too much money. We're going to take this much money away from you and give it to this person over here because he's not making as much money as you are. Or we're going to just go ahead and create our own stores and it's going to be free for these people and you're going to be able to shop in this one here because it's going to be less. Who's going to stock it? Are you going to pay the farmers the same amount to stock that store as you would to stock another store, a free enterprise store? I don't think so. So in conclusion, the Soviet Union experiment is a graveyard of good intentions, but millions suffered so we don't have to repeat the mistake. So as I've mentioned before, history is for others to learn from. So we are persistent. So we are not persistent to repeat what others have failed in. A democratic socialist government is not what we need. What we need is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to stop fighting and arguing like two kids on a playground and come up with a plan to bring all of us together and not just one side or the other, because that's the way it is right now. We have the Democratic Party over here on the left and the Republican Party on the right, and all they're doing is they're worried about their side only. They're not worried about bringing both sides together. When they start worrying about bringing both sides together and they work to bring both sides together, then we'll be back to where we were back in the day. But right now, are you kidding me? We're far from it. So, next time we'll dig into another case or human stories from these regimes, from other regimes that have gone through the same problems and situations. So drop a comment. Which failure shocked you the most so far? Venezuela or the USSR? Subscribe and share if you are finding this valuable. Thanks for watching day 4. Stay informed, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Spin Cycle America. And you all have an outstanding day.